All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results, positive or not.
To the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the body alchemist Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. Welcome one and all back to the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm excited because this is the first time I'm actually recording video with this podcast, and this will be seen on IGTV. So everybody that is watching, what's up on IGTV? And this is going to be great. Also, for those of you who are listening in, there are other platforms that you can hear the De La Fit podcast on. You can hear us on iHeartMedia Radio. And you can also hear us on Spotify. You can see us or hear us on YouTube. You can get us on SoundCloud. You can get us on all of the major platforms that are out there. So for everybody that's watching some of the interview on IGTV, this will just be a small portion of it. You can find this on all the other platforms out there as well to hear the entirety of the podcast. So today is going to be an awesome show. I'm going to have with me Dr. Kyrin Dunston. She's our guest for today. Dr. Kyrin Dunston is a board-certified OBGYN with over 2 decades of clinical research and medical management business experience, fellowship trained by the American Academy of Anti-Aging, Metabolic and Functional Medicine. Host of her own brilliant health radio podcast. Dr. Dunston is here with us because she's going to be helping us kind of break down the whole myth, the whole psychosis, the whole great fear and misunderstanding, of how to lose weight. Something that has plagued many individuals out there. That whole understanding or misunderstanding of how do I begin to lose weight and how do I keep the pounds off. Dr. Dunston is going to take us through her own private journey of how she was able to deal with this issue within herself. She's going to be talking about her history as a medical professional, as a doctor, and how she came into functional medicine, or otherwise known as holistic medicine. So I hope everybody enjoys this. I hope you're enjoying this on IGTV. I hope you're enjoying this on any platform that you're listening to. We're going to take you right into it right now. Hey you, with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit Podcast.
Degrees of holistic fitness and health. Welcome back to the De La Fit Podcast. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you our next guest, Dr. Kyrin Dunston. She's certified OBGYN with over 2 decades of clinical research and medical management business experience, fellowship trained by the American Academy of Anti-Aging, Metabolic and Functional Medicine, and host of her Brilliant Health radio podcast. Dr. Kyrin, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. Dr. Kyrin, one of the things we constantly talk about here at the De La Fit Podcast is the fact of the 360 degrees of fitness and health, which is, it's not always about barbells, it's not always about what you're eating, it's about everything that makes you healthy. And part of this is we have conversations with so many different professionals, and we ask our listeners, what is it that you really want to know about? What is it that you need us to help you accomplish? And one of the things that we have consistently is the conversation about demystifying weight loss. So let's talk a little bit about this. This is one of your specialties. So why is weight loss so difficult? I know as a trainer, I'm constantly always explaining it, always going back over the principles of this. Why do people have such a difficulty with this?
Great question. And demystifying weight loss is one of my favorite topics because I've actually lost 100 pounds myself. And as a traditionally trained OBGYN, I tried the diet and exercise route, and it might give temporary results, but never sustainable, satisfactory results. And it wasn't until I discovered root cause resolution medicine, or also known as functional medicine, that I really understood why we fail at weight loss repeatedly and what you need to do to be successful at weight loss. And that's why I wrote my book, Cracking the Bikini Code: 6 Secrets to Permanent Weight Loss Success. And basically the reason, son, that we fail at weight loss is because we treat our body as if it were a bank account. Calories in minus calories out should equal our weight, and nothing could be further from the truth. Our bodies are complex biochemical labs, if you will, and calories are treated a certain way depending on what's going on with our metabolism, with our hormones, with our toxicity level, with our nutrient deficient level, and with our emotions and our spirituality. And so you really have to address these root causes in order to couple calories to calories in to calories out. I'm not going to say you can get to your ideal weight and not exercise. That's not going to happen. And I'm not going to say that you can eat Cinnabons all day and get to your ideal weight. That's not going to happen. So with reasonable diet and exercise, though, if you address these root causes that determine how your body treats calories, then you can be successful at weight loss. But you've got to get your hormones balanced. You've got to detoxify. And I love how you say 360 fitness, because I have a program I call 360 Detox. You got to do it all the way around. You can't just take a supplement you get at the GNC that the store clerk tells you is going to detox you and think you've detoxed. Right? No, there's so many things you have to do, and it's a lifelong journey detox. It's not an event. It's a process that you have to do, just like you don't shower once your whole life and then you say, oh, I showered. I showered this year. Right? So it's like detox is a continuous thing you've got to do every day. And you've got to get your what I call nutritional prosperity up to par, because most of us are so nutrient depleted. 70% of Americans, and if you have a weight problem, more likely 90% are nutrient depleted. And the body cannot open fat cells and burn the fat for fuel and get rid of it if it doesn't have certain nutrients. And you just can't eat yourself into that in 2019. Right. So you got to be having nutraceuticals. And then for me, also looking at the mental, emotional, spiritual balance, which, you know, your spiritual balance is your energetic body that forms the framework for your physical body. So you've got to look at the root causes of weight issues and not just, oh, if I starve myself and exercise like crazy, I'm going to lose weight. That doesn't work. We've proven that. 6% success rate for across the board weight loss programs like Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, Phenermine, all those eat less, exercise more programs are not long-term successful and they're not sustainable.
You know what? I always like having professionals come on like yourself, especially ones who have, again, the 360 journey, because I find that most of the time what we've been taught here in Western medicine is half of the issue. It's definitely half of the issue. So how did you begin this journey for yourself? Not only just becoming a doctor, but starting to look at it with that circular, that whole 360 eye.
That's a great question. And as with a lot of the journeys that we humans undertake, it starts with a whole lot of failure and
Very
whole
true.
lot of misery and a whole lot of pain.
Right.
And it's interesting because I was born and raised in Manhattan to a mother. We used to call her name was Jerry. We used to call her Granola Jerry. And she used to make her own granola and yogurt. And she was best friends with Gary Null, who owned a health food store on 106th and Broadway. He's written, I don't know how many books on nutrition and health. And this is back in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And she really was very holistic. When my sister and I would get sick, she would give us Golden Seal and Echinacea and make us sweat it out. And we thought she was crazy.
I remember
and
those
we
days.
we used to laugh about her and joke with our friends about her. And then when I decided to go to medical school, which had been a lifelong dream for me, I went off and then I came back and I told her, Mother, we heal with steel. We don't need all that stuff you do. And I really poo-pooed everything that she tried to teach me. I thought I knew better because, you know, you go to medical school and you get your MD, which stands for minor deity, and then you know everything about health, right?
Right.
So here I am delivering babies and doing surgery and hysterectomies and prescribing birth control pills and doing pap smears. And after many years of this, I loved doing it, but after a while, my health started to deteriorate. I started gaining weight, being tired, losing my hair. I was depressed. I was anxious. I hurt all over. I just had myriad health problems, and I would use myriad medications to try to fix this, and nothing really fixed the problems. And eventually I weighed 243 pounds. I had chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. I looked 20 years older than I was. I had no sex drive. I just was really existing. I was breathing in and out, but I wasn't really living.
Right.
And I did everything I knew to figure out what was wrong and fix it. I went to my doctor. She'd say, your tests are quote unquote normal. There's nothing wrong with you. And there was so clearly something wrong with me.
Right.
And I also, so I was disillusioned that the medicine I had learned, and I was board certified and still am. And so I was told, you know, everything there is to know about women's health. And I'm thinking, I can't fix myself. What do I know? And I'm looking at my patients and seeing the same issues. And everything I'm doing, oh, take this birth control pill. Oh, your periods are painful or irregular. That's what I was taught to do. You can't sleep. Okay, take this sleeping pill. You know, it just was reactive medicine and drugs and surgery. And the truth was nobody ever truly got healthy. Sure, did the symptom they were having stop because you gave them a sleeping pill? Did they sleep, quote unquote? Sure, they were knocked out all night, but they weren't getting restful sleep. And their overall health never improved. Sure, you gave them a birth control pill, so maybe it regulated and overrode their hormones so that their periods were regular, but it never really made them healthy, vital, alive, happy, great health, vitality, and zest for life, and having that glow of beautiful skin that you see in someone who is vitally and optimally healthy. And so I was very disillusioned, and I will be totally frank with you. I had gotten to the point where I thought, if this is what life is, I'm not really helping anyone else, and I can't help myself. I don't really want to live it. And then, thank goodness that I stumbled upon this thing called functional medicine. Actually, one of my patients brought me a book by Suzanne Summers that talked about this type of medicine I had never heard of. And of course, I wasn't going to read it at the first she gave it to me. I was so arrogant, because of MD degree. And I am no longer arrogant. I'm very humble, and I'm grateful for the parts of my journey that have humbled me to know that I don't even know what I don't know. And I think that's important for all of us who are seeking help to be as humble and realize that there's so much that we don't know, that we don't even know we don't know. And in that uncertainty is actually usually the answer to your healing. So anyway, I finally read the book, and it just opened me to this new world, and I all of a sudden had possibilities. And it talked about tests I had never heard of: salivary hormone testing, salivary cortisol testing, food sensitivity testing, functional stool testing, heavy metal tests. And it talked about treatments I had not been trained in. It talked about nutraceuticals and botanicals and homeopathic. And I just started going to conferences and learning, and eventually joined a fellowship program with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and completed that. And I started using these tools to heal myself. I'd learn about a test. I'd do the test. I would address it naturally. And slowly but surely, I started having more energy. I started losing weight. I had horrible irritable bowel. That started getting better. My bowels were regulated. My anxiety and depression lifted, and everything. Sorry, my puppies.
No problem.
Everything just started improving. And I'd say my whole journey for my healing to what I will call the best health of my life was about 2 years. But my patients, who were middle-aged women with the same problem, started seeing the changes in me. Right. And they said, "Oh my gosh, Dr. Kyrin, what are you doing, girl? Because you look so good. We want that. I want that. Do that with me." So I started doing it with my patients, and this was around about 2010. And it was just like a tidal wave. They all got the same results. And what I ended up doing is a couple days a week I was doing my regular OBGYN, and then the other days I was doing functional. But what I ended up doing is, on the days I was doing OBGYN and women were having problems, I'd say, well, my board certification says I need to give you this sleeping pill, and I need to give you this birth control pill and this antidepressant. But you don't really want that. What you want is, you want to come see me on Monday or Wednesday when I do functional medicine, and we're going to do these hormone tests, and we're going to find out the root cause of why you have these problems, why you can't lose weight. And we're going to treat them naturally. And they were like, heck yeah, I want that. And so all my OBGYN patients were just coming to see me on the other days to do functional. And I did it on other days because those visits are an hour long, because there's a lot of education. It's really patient-centered. And I have to have so much more information about people. Yeah, we care. Did your mom breastfeed you? And how old was the house that you grew up in? These things matter. So the interview, the questioning is longer, the education is involved. There's no education needed for take this birth control, come see me in 3 months. But when I have to educate you on stress management and, the different ways that your cortisol is affected, and your thought processes, meditation and mindfulness, and how your autonomic system regulates your health and is intertwined with your hormones, and on and on and on. Well, that takes time. So I retired from OBGYN in 2011, and I've done this full-time since. And so that's really my journey of healing. And now I'm just so passionate about helping women know about this type of medicine and this type of root cause resolution that I wrote my book, and I started my podcast, and I started group programs in my office and then took them to the internet. And I really think that women everywhere should have access to this.
First of all,
and men.
Yeah, don't forget us, please.
Yes, I know.
All right. First of all, I just want to say I love it. And I love the fact of the journey and how you have come about to this realization, because it's so needed, so needed. What is the missing ingredient in successful weight loss?
The missing ingredient is what drives the biochemistry in the body. What makes a calorie have meaning in the body and how your body processes it. And so those are hormone balance. So you got your I call them 4 main metabolic drivers. I'll include DHEA in there, but you've got your insulin, which is number one for weight loss. You've got to have insulin balance, and we are rampant with diabetes, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome. And if your insulin is out of balance, and that's the hormone that regulates your blood sugar, it is signaling all of your cells, store all the calories as fat and do not burn it for fuel and get rid of it. So if your insulin is, I'm going to say, jacked up, which most of us, if we're eating a SAD diet, standard American diet, full of carbs, our insulin is jacked up. Then our body, every time we eat, is getting the signal to store calories as fat and don't burn it. So this is your bread, pasta, white rice, white potatoes. It's your sugar. It's your sodas. It's a lot of what we eat every day. Sweets, cakes, candies, cookies. And so that's number one hormone. Number two hormone, thyroid. I'd say up to 80% of the women who come see me say their regular doctor checked their thyroid, and I check their thyroid, and they say, oh no, my doctor checked my thyroid, it's normal. And I say normal in quotes because that's a huge discussion. Normal does not mean optimal.
Right.
So you can be 5'5" and weigh 200 pounds and you're still under the bell curve of normal, but that's not optimal. And I don't know about you or your listeners, but do you want normal health or do you want optimal health? And I think most of us want optimal health.
Definitely.
And so so thyroid is number two. If you've got a weight issue, almost by definition, you have a thyroid problem, because your thyroid is your battery. It sends a signal that tells all your cells to set their metabolic rate and at the rate at which to burn calories for fuel. And if you have excess fat, one of the main reasons you have it is that your cells are not getting the signal to burn the fat. And that comes from the thyroid. So thyroid is number two main metabolic driver. And then 3 and 4 are kind of left and right hands of the same, cortisol and DHEA. So cortisol is your stress hormone. DHEA is its sidekick backup. And, this is not a hormone that is measured in mainstream medicine. It's not, unless they think you have a disease. That's really what mainstream medicine is concerned with. What disease do you have, diagnosis, and what drug do I need to give you or surgery do I need to do on you? It's not necessarily concerned with how's your function. So if they're concerned about a cortisol problem, in rare cases, if you're in the top 2.5% or lowest 2.5% of cortisol levels, where you have Cushing's or Addison's disease, then that's the only time it's usually checked. But there's this whole spectrum of 95% of us in the middle. And I call it clean cortisol because it really determines your overall health. Your cortisol, it determines your weight, sleep-wake cycle, your energy, whether you get sick or not, the flu or not every time it comes around, whether you're going to get cancer or not, whether you get autoimmune disease or not, that is your cortisol. Your cortisol is the supporter of your immune system. It's the brake on disease. And DHEA, like I said, is the sidekick. So in weight, you've got to look at these four main metabolic drivers, and pretty much everyone has a problem with at least one, if not two. All these main metabolic drivers interact with each other. So it's challenging to have a problem with one and not with the others. And then the other hormones that are important are your sex.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the De La Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please, take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, particularly for women. So testosterone drives weight loss. That's why men can typically lose weight much more easily. You guys have 10 times the testosterone that we do. And women have more hormonal fluctuations. I mean, every month we're going through the full range of cycles. So if we're emotional, don't hate us, because it's the price you pay for being able to make a baby. And so we go through that full fluctuation, but anytime you have a system with very complex parts that are constantly moving, there's opportunity for dysfunction. So that's why women have way more hormonal problems than men. And we live in this state. We talked about toxicity earlier. Toxins are in you. If you're listening to this and you're human and you're breathing, you've got toxicity. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how much.
Right.
And how much is determined by your genetic makeup, how well you clear these things or not, and your contact, how much is coming into you. And like we talked about earlier, if you're not doing something actively to get rid of this stuff every day, you are accumulating it and it's contributing to illness. So what does this have to do with hormones? So a lot of the toxins in our environment are endocrine disruptors. They disrupt our hormonal system. So for women who are constantly, every day our hormones are different, we have these endocrine disruptors coming from phthalates in plastic bottles, from parabens in our cosmetics and makeup that make us look beautiful, but they're killing us. They're in our lotions, our deodorants, our cleaning products in our home. Oh, one pet peeve I have is those scented air fresheners, plug-in, scented candles. They are loaded with these things. You are inhaling them. You are getting them on your skin from unnamed stores at the mall that have every scent under the sun. That sure, they smell good, but you don't realize that when you put that junk on your skin, you're absorbing it and it's disrupting your hormones. So we are swimming in a sea of hormonal disruptors. And this is why women have a harder time with weight gain. It's why we have a harder time with weight loss. Our systems are more delicate, more intricate. We use more cosmetics. We put makeup, perfume is another offender, and scented products. We generally still are the cleaners, the maids in our homes, so we're coming in contact with more cleaning products. So we don't realize that. The foods we eat, the pesticides, the artificial flavorings and colorings. If you're not eating organic, you're not eating, free-range, grass-fed, no hormone livestock or wild-caught fish, and you're eating farmed fish, you are getting toxins that are disrupting your hormones. So the sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, are important. And the problem is that most women, starting around the age of 35 or 40, estrogen starts going up, and estrogen is the weight gain, water retention, PMS, anxiety, depression hormone. Sure, you need enough to feel good and function optimally, but most of us have too much. We are estrogen toxic, and certain foods act like estrogen, for instance, caffeine and dairy products And progesterone is the weight loss, diuretic, happy, sleep well hormone. And so most of us start having declining estrogen by 35 or 40. So you get this imbalance between estrogen and progesterone that is driving and signaling your cells to hold on to the calories that you're eating. And one other sign that women will know if you're listening that you have a discrepancy between your estrogen and progesterone balance is if you have heavy periods, painful periods, irregular periods, fibroids, endometriosis, PMS, breast cysts, ovarian cysts, that's a sure sign your estrogen and progesterone are out of balance. You go to your gynecologist, oh, I got these issues. What are they going to do? Because this is what I did, because it's what I was taught. Put you on birth control pills. Oh, that one didn't work? Try this one. That one didn't work? Oh, you need a laparoscopy. Oh, we take out one ovary. That didn't work? You're going to end up with a hysterectomy. This is why hysterectomy is the number 2 surgery performed in our country, second only to C-section. And it's insane because if our hormones were checked with salivary or urine metabolite hormone testing years before and our hormones were adjusted, and as regular doctors, quote unquote, we were teaching our patients how to detox estrogen and teaching them about estrogen dominance and its importance, then they not only wouldn't have the weight problem, but also wouldn't have the problems that they have with their female system and end up with hysterectomy. And I digress. So let me go back to the weight. So you got to deal with those 7 main hormones for the weight. Then you've got to detoxify. You've got to stop all the toxins from coming into you. Some of them that we talked about, a lot of them, they're coming from your environment. You're breathing them in, they're coming in through your skin, and you're eating them. And you've got to get the ones that are in you out. And you can't see them, and your regular doctor isn't going to talk to you about this or measure them. I was taught, oh, your body takes care of that. You don't need to worry about it. Well, sure, in 1900 it did. When my great-granddad went to med school, sure it did. But in 2019, your body cannot do it unaided. There's so much, 85,000 chemicals now in the environment that have been synthetic chemicals since 1950.
85,000?
85,000. Each person has traces of 400 toxic chemicals in their body. So, like I said, it's not a matter of if you have it, it's how much. And the sicker you feel and the sicker you are, the more toxicity you have by definition. And so you've got to do things to get them out, and your liver's the main sanitation department. So if you're trying to lose weight by some manipulation of your diet and some manipulation of your exercise, you might be successful the younger you are if you haven't accumulated a certain amount of toxicity or hormonal imbalance. But by the time women particularly hit 35, 40, and then men usually have an andropause, a little bit later, 50s, then you're definitely going to have a problem getting to your ideal weight. So you've got to address these issues, and then the nutritional prosperity we talked about, and then also the mental, emotional, spiritual issues. So if you're like me, I was a sugar junkie, and I medicated my feelings with sugar and also alcohol. So if you're one of these who, I know I see so many people, they have to have their wine or their drink every day. You don't realize how that is a toxin in your body. I mean, alcohol directly kills enterocytes, which are the cells that line the gastrointestinal tract. Well, your gut is the center of your body, and it's the center of your health. And your gut is a key source of internal toxicity. There's internal and external is one of the things I teach people about and I talk about in my book. So if your gut is toxic, if you're drinking alcohol every day, your enterocytes are dying and it's causing a leaky gut, well, it's going to be almost impossible to lose weight. And I see a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm going to eat this diet, but I'm still going to I have a friend who's like this right now. I'm still having my wine. And I don't say anything because she's my friend. But she can't seem to get that last 20 pounds off.
Right.
Well, you got to look at it. And so anyway, the mental, emotional, spiritual is important because there is some degree of, a lot of times, a lot of us who are overweight, Yeah, do we try and we fail? Yes. And it's all the reasons I talked about. But then a lot of us are like, well, what's the point? But I was a sugar junkie and I drank way too much. And so those are things you got to look at. Why did I do that? I was medicating my feelings. So this is something that I help people to really take a look at.
So how do we, with all of the things you talked about, with all the things that are out there, the 85,000 different types of toxins in the atmosphere, how do we begin to rebalance ourselves? How does a woman who's dealing with these issues say, you know what, let me begin this detox, let me begin to heal myself?
Right. So the number one thing to do if you're listening and you're struggling with this is change what you're eating. And I'm not saying in terms of calories, but forget counting calories. I'm not a believer in counting calories unless you're doing certain types of diet manipulation, which is a whole other concept. If you eat the right things, I know someone who recently asked me, said, well, what's the one thing you would recommend? And I said, don't cut out all the carbs, including anything with grains or made from grains.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm including corn, potatoes, rice, anything made with wheat. Just cut out all the grains, all the carbs, all the sugar, and that includes honey, raw sugar. And even I would cut out stevia and monk fruit sweetener, anything that tastes sweet that's not. Just cut it all out.
Really, even stevia?
For now, just initially,
okay.
Because your taste buds, I don't know if you've experienced this with your clients, but this happens for me and I've had clients too. When you're eating sweet things, your taste for sweet maintains.
That I will say that's true.
You gotta reset your taste buds, because I know when I was 243 pounds, I used to crave and eat Cinnabons, and it tasted like heaven to me. And then after I lost 100 pounds, I think at one point I tasted one. I said, "This is disgusting." So
right.
you want to reset those taste buds. So that's what I tell people: don't drink only water. Cut out all that other stuff you're eating. You can eat as much of whatever vegetables or proteins you want. Do not worry about fat. Fat does not make you fat. And just cut out all that, the things we talked about. And then for fruits, I recommend eating berries and green apples. If you just did that and you ate whatever you wanted, did not count calories, I promise you will lose weight. And especially if you eat organic, free-range, grass-fed, wild-caught, all of those things. That is the number one thing, because you're decreasing the toxins coming in. You're helping to rebalance your hormones because you're decreasing stimulating your insulin, which high insulin gives that signal to not burn fat, which helps in turn rebalance your cortisol, which helps to rebalance your thyroid, which actually helps to rebalance your sex hormones. All the hormones are connected. It's like a mobile I used to have over my desk. You push one piece, all of the pieces move. So just by eating, you are balancing your hormones, you are detoxifying, you're eating more nutrient-dense foods, so you are increasing your nutrition. That one thing, so it's not how much you eat, it's what you eat. You can make significant changes. Now, if you're unbalanced to a certain degree, that might not be enough.
Okay.
And that's true for most of the people I work with. Can it get you far? Yes, very far. But at some point, particularly for women, once you hit that 35 to 40 range, you're going to need some assistance beyond that to get yourself back straight.
Can these tips work for a person who has diabetes or some type of other similar ailment?
Absolutely. And for diabetics particularly, if you're listening and you are diabetic, pre-diabetic, insulin-resistant, metabolic syndrome, please know that you can heal diabetes if you are not purely type 1 or you are not type 2 who's insulin dependent. Depending on how many of the cells you have left in the pancreas that create insulin, if you have enough of them left, because that's what happens with diabetes, is that they blow out from making so much insulin. If you have enough left, you can heal completely from diabetes. And this is exactly what I tell diabetics, and it's such a shame because mainstream nutritionists who your regular doctor sends you to do diabetic counseling counsel you to eat carbs. I have a friend who passed away a few years ago, and it appalled me. She was diabetic, and she had a nutritionist through her doctor, and it appalled me what she would eat. So, for instance, at breakfast, she would eat a certain type of box cereal with milk and bananas, and her nutritionist and doctor said that that was appropriate for a diabetic. And if you are listening, that is not ever appropriate for a diabetic. You may as well take a half cup or cup of sugar and just eat that. That is what that pretty much breaks down to in your body. Milk breaks down to sugar. Box cereal is processed grain, breaks down to sugar. Banana breaks down to sugar. And so you're essentially pouring fuel on a fire. So you've got to do exactly what I said. And people listening are going to go, what's she talking about? But my favorite breakfast for diabetics or for anyone who's trying to lose weight is actually soup.
All right.
So a soup with protein and vegetables, or something we would eat for dinner, but soup particularly because it is, if you're used to a warm oatmeal. Oatmeal is not an appropriate breakfast for a diabetic either, in my opinion. Soup gives that warm, kind of cozy feeling. And at first, I have had patients that'll say, why soup for breakfast? Because we're socialized to believe that certain foods are for certain activities and times of day.
Right.
And that's part of that mental, emotional, spiritual. If you want a different outcome, you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and do things differently. Because, we try to lose weight with the same paradigm that, these are breakfast foods, so I have to choose some of these for breakfast. You got to get out of that. Our American breakfast is a carb fest, and it's a disaster. So yes, for diabetics, exactly what I'm recommending can help. And I have seen people be pre-diabetic, insulin-resistant, diabetic, and completely reverse to be normal.
That's amazing. Dr. Kyrin, we're running out of time, but how can individuals contact you, find out more about you, also to ask questions? And before time does run out, tell us about your book.
Sure. So people can connect with me through my book. It's Cracking the Bikini Code, 6 Secrets to Permanent Weight Loss Success, which is available on Amazon. They can also find me on my website, which is KYRINDUNSTONMD.com, or on social media. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all my social media handles are whatever the platform is. So Facebook.com/ and then my full name, Kyrin Dunston, MD. And you can direct message me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and I will happily respond. You can also communicate with me through my website. And if I can answer any questions, or you can also find my podcast for Brilliant Health Radio on iTunes. And I look forward to connecting with anyone who'd like to connect with me.
Thank you so much for coming to the Daily Fit podcast. We definitely will be asking you back because there's some other things I would like to talk with you about. And you mentioned some things about DHEA, which to me, having a conversation with not only some clients but friends, I think that's a very misunderstood hormone as well. If I'm correct, it is a hormone. Am I correct?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's another one, because especially with a lot of people asking about supplementation and so many other things, we would love to have you back.
Oh, great. I enjoyed being here. I hope that everybody listening got some tidbit of information, and I always give a take action challenge. If you are struggling with your weight, what's one thing you could do today to start moving in the direction that we talked about? Maybe it's that you look on environmentalworkinggroup.org and check and see if your cosmetics are toxic, if they have parabens, and if they do, you switch to a brand that's paraben free, or maybe you just change up what you're eating for breakfast. So take action challenge. What are you going to do today?
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, son.
So I would just like to send a shout out and thank Dr. Kyrin for coming to the podcast, sharing her information, sharing her journey that took her to the knowledge of herself, what it really takes to successfully lose weight, and what it is that we're really dealing with when it comes to weight loss in this country, and dealing with all of the issues that we have with weight and calories and just eating, period. You know, our diets and the way we were taught about diet, in my opinion, in the Western society is just very dysfunctional. It's extremely dysfunctional, and we have to now unlearn all of the information that was programmed into us. Let's just take some of the information that Dr. Kyrin was talking about. Let's talk about the fact of the whole breakfast thing. All right, so we were taught, many of us were taught 3 meals a day. Breakfast, most important meal of the day. And what's breakfast? Breakfast is your cereal, maybe your eggs or whatever it is you eat with that, toast, juice, milk. That's what it was when I was growing up in the 80s. I was taught those things. But that's not something that's a necessity. That's not something that you truly have to do, you know? And I want everybody to take in this information that Dr. Kyrin was saying and really think about it. As always, before you do anything on your own, I would say, again, make sure that you reach out to Dr. Kyrin. Make sure that you reach out to the necessary individuals, physicians, proper certified individuals who can help you with this. Don't just try anything on your own immediately. Research again before you try all these things yourself that Dr. Kyrin has discussed. I would always say, always walk on the line of safety before you decide to just try anything, because it is most important, and we want everybody to be their healthiest selves. But with that being said, don't just eliminate the information that Dr. Kyrin was talking about today. In fact, take it in, digest it, decipher it, see if it's going to work for you. As always, thank you so much for tuning into the De La Fit podcast. You know what we say, each one teach one, and we're about the village here. And it takes a village to raise a child, and we're all somebody's child. So that means we all need to get together. We all need to help each other. We all need to teach one so that we can all be the best people that we can be. We are a family of human beings, and once we start acting that way, we can be the best people that we can be. So always remember, treat yourself the best, because if you treat yourself the best with the positivity in mind, I know that you're going to treat others great. Peace and love. Be safe.
You've been listening to the De La Fit podcast. Ta-ta for now.